Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Intimate Design Conversations, Creating Personalized Bath Experiences. As we continue our theme of remodeling for the month of August, I have the pleasure of introducing today's speaker, Anniki Huseman, Senior Designer of KSI Kitchens. Anniki, please take it away.
Hi, and thank you for joining me this afternoon. My name is Annika Heisman, and I am a senior designer at KSI Kitchen and Bath. One of my favorite things to do as an active member of the NKBA is to come on and participate in webinars like this, have discussions, and share information with you guys. So thank you for giving me some time here over your lunch break. Today, we're going to talk about how to help our clients create a perfect bathroom space. As designers, we have the privilege of helping them just create that perfect space that they've always looked forward to, that absolutely personal bathroom experience. But a lot of the questions that we need to ask can be highly personal. And that can get us into kind of some touchy places sometimes where maybe we're hesitant to not ask the questions that we should, or we hold back when we really need to deep dive those things. So today we're going to talk about what makes a bathroom space different, what makes qualifying a customer different for a bathroom space than it does for a kitchen or other spaces that we work with frequently. We'll talk about kind of some key ways that we can ask the right questions so that we really get the answers we need to create the best space for them. And we'll talk about some of the right questions, the specific right questions for different bathroom spaces. And then we'll just touch on making sure that we've addressed everything for our clients, that we've fully educated them about all their needs. And then I'll try to make sure I leave you guys with a few additional resources for future projects. So thanks for hanging with me this afternoon. So let's start with how a bathroom is the same as a kitchen. Bathroom spaces are really similar to kitchens and other spaces in the home that we design for our clients. Bathroom areas are engineered to have different work zones for different tasks, similar to how a kitchen might have a prep zone, a cooking zone, or a cleanup zone. Bathroom areas have different zones designed for different tasks. So in a bathroom, rather than cooking or prep, we're looking at spaces that might be designated to personal preparedness for the morning, like toothbrushing, hand washing, personal hygiene, and just different tasks than a kitchen, but still task areas that we'll have to talk about. We'll deep dive them later when we talk about specific questions. Bathrooms, similar to other spaces in the home, also have traffic patterns that we've got to consider and ask questions about. They will have multiple users, even though generally the users won't be in the bathroom at the same time. We'll have to engineer a bathroom space for more than one person in most occasions. And similar to other spaces, there's also a lot of parts and pieces to consider, just a lot of systems and moving parts that we have to ask questions about. Everything from surface material to plumbing, making sure we have the correct storage, the correct lighting, electrical, and lots of other needs for our clients. But there's a lot of things that make bathrooms different than other spaces in the home. So in a bathroom, we have unique privacy concerns. People are naked in there and they're generally not in their kitchen or their office or their theater room. So privacy is definitely a concern, especially when we're engineering a space maybe for multiple users that will be in there at the same time. Those are questions that we're going to have to answer, and they're not always easy or easy to get answers from the client. We'll have to think about lines of sight, sound control as part of privacy, and also ventilation. There's just a lot to consider with that privacy concern. There's a lot more water in a bathroom than there are in many of the other spaces that we will look at when we're designing a home, and controlling it can be a major challenge. The controls that bring it into the room, as well as the controls that we have to think about that allow for proper drainage, ventilation, and cleaning, they're all concerns that we're going to have to talk about with our clients. We also need to think about how we're personalizing the bathroom for the different users. Multiple users might be sharing the same bathroom, and they have different needs, maybe different skill levels, and they're looking for different experiences in that bathroom in some cases. And a bathroom having a small space and asking all of those things from it can be a challenge. So one of the things that we're definitely asking from bathrooms right now is to be a space for physical health and mental wellness. So now more than ever, we're really asking it to be kind of that personal retreat, to play a role in our daily health routine, to give us a place to kind of energize us, start our day, and also help us relax as part of that evening routine. In some cases, if you're a parent, maybe it's also your private space where you can escape from your 2-year-old and their relentless questions. I'm not sure what you're personally asking from your bathroom space, but those will be questions for your client. How can we make this space a private space for you that really grows your physical health and your mental health at the same time? So that's a lot of needs that we're asking our bathroom to kind of fill for our clients. So we're going to have a lot of questions to ask them. And a lot of times, as a salesperson, as a designer who's seeking to kind of connect with your client and build that trust, how you ask those questions is really going to matter because there's so many unique concerns for a bathroom. Things can get really personal. So we're definitely going to have to work on building that trust because the questions are personal and the topics can be touchy and they might be uncomfortable for your clients. And in some cases, they might be a little uncomfortable for you, depending on your background or how often you've worked in a bathroom space. So let's start by talking about how to choose our words carefully in these spaces, how to keep our clients comfortable with the words that we choose, and to watch our tone so that it's empathetic, so that we're asking questions with curiosity to help solve their problems. And then I'll also give you some tips on how to help when things get awkward, which happens more often when we're asking questions about bathroom spaces than probably any other space. I'm sure if you've dealt with bathrooms for long enough, you've had at least one situation where you get yourself into a little bit of a pinch. So we'll talk about a couple techniques where you can kind of back out of that, but still keep the conversation going and keep building that trust without losing your rapport with the client. So let's start with your words. The words that you use and the tone that you take with your clients can make all the difference in making sure that you get honest answers to especially some of those touchy questions, the questions that you're going to have to ask to make sure that you craft that space to perfection for them. It'll also help with earning their trust so that as you work through the project and its different ups and downs, they just have more trust in you and your ultimate vision that you guys have put together. So if you'd like a bonus word for the day, I will give you one of my favorites, which is lexicon. It's a Greek-based word that's a mashup of speak, words, and book. So when I think about using my personal lexicon, I think about building something that's like my own personal dictionary or thesaurus. It's my own group of phrases or words or vocabulary that I'm going to use, especially with my clients that represent the type of designer I am, the level of project that I hope to pursue, and then if we're going to work on a more professional, very kind of classy upscale level, or if we're going to be a little bit more casual in our relationship, kind of the words that I'm picking there, my lexicon should help reflect all of that. So if that's confusing, think about what you call this, cold beverage. Where I grew up on the East Coast, we call it soda. Where I live now, we always call it pop. In the South, it's Coke. And what you call it could depend on where you grew up, like me, who you're with when you're ordering it, and even where you're ordering it. Are you ordering it at a restaurant or are you ordering it at a drive-through window? That'll kind of all affect the word that you use for that particular product. And I think that bathrooms are the same. And it's good to carefully select our words so that we can remain professional and classy when we're dealing with these spaces. It'll also help put our clients at ease a little bit if we're using consistent and clear language. So, for example, when we're talking about maybe the room that the toilet goes in, are we going to choose to call it a toilet room or a water closet or something else? How we talk about it can really affect kind of our client's perception of that and also us as designers and our professionalism. But aside from just talking about what we call the product specifically, think about how you're talking about who you're creating the space for, especially if you're creating a space for someone who's older or who has an older parent or they're a caregiver to someone like that. Think about the words that you're using there. Are you creating the space for the elderly, for senior citizens, or maybe for their mom? Picking those words carefully will really build rapport with the client and help move the project along and build that trust. In addition, kind of practicing your lexicon around bathroom projects is important. because you're going to be asked to deal with some awkward moments or awkward words. You're going to be talking about liquid versus solid waste, gender specific bidet spray patterns, toe ledges for the shower for shaving, hand sprayers for cleaning or for cleaning the shower or for cleaning personal areas of your body. There's just a lot that you need to consider how you're going to phrase it when you talk with your clients so that everybody kind of remains comfortable and professional. So the more you talk about those words and kind of practice that lexicon, the more comfortable you'll get with it. And the more comfortable you are, the more comfortable your client will become as you're kind of guiding them through the bathroom products and solutions. So it'll be easier if they have kind of those tender questions about how that product is used, or if they're a little hesitant about asking, your words can kind of help build their confidence and guide them along. It's helpful to have some go-to phrases or words that you use consistently, and that will then make sure that you're being clear with your clients, or you're always calling it the water closet, or you're always calling it the toilet room. That way they know what to expect when they're doing that final review with you. There are fewer questions. And even though you're picking the words and kind of being the guide, you need to be sensitive to your client. If they're not picking up on how you're phrasing things, or if you're using language that's a little technical for them, or if you're using some really specific jargon. So if you do work in plumbing and you're using kind of a lot of real technical plumbing jargon, you just want to be an active listener for the questions that they're asking and how they're responding. You want to watch carefully and make sure that they're understanding the words that you're using. And if they don't, go ahead and adjust them, because that understanding between you and them is more important than kind of than what you're trying to display. So go ahead and avoid trade language and jargon when you're dealing with your clients. Will help make sure that everybody's on the same page. So as we're choosing our words to ask our questions around these sensitive topics, just remember that it's not just the words that we're choosing, but it's also the tone that we're choosing to ask them with. We're going to want to make sure that we're asking our questions with empathy, especially because bathrooms can be sensitive spaces. We're having private bodily functions there, we're having private moments there, and not everybody's comfortable talking about it. So asking your questions with empathy will help, especially clients who are working on a bathroom space because they have a physical challenge, there's a safety concern, or they're designing to stay in their home long term. Not everyone who's designing to stay in their home long term is ready to talk about their safety concerns that they're going to have in the future, or their physical limitations that they're going to have in the future. They're not looking forward to getting old. They want you to help solve those problems, sometimes without fully giving you the details of what they're afraid of. And empathy will kind of help build that trust so that they're more comfortable talking with you about what their real needs are. I feel like there's often confusion between empathy and sympathy. And we want to make sure when we're talking with our clients that we avoid sympathy and we lean towards empathy. So let's take a quick look at what each of those means. So taking the right tone with our clients builds trust, and we want to make sure that we're building trust with empathetic instead of sympathetic phrases. So when I think about a sympathetic phrase, it generally comes from a place of feeling sorry for someone else's problems and then providing a flat solution, a solution that maybe feels a little one size fits all. You're going to maybe offer up some phrases that seem a little trite or cliche, like, I know how you feel. And that's going to be a sympathetic phrase that, to build trust, you really want to avoid. When we're dealing with our clients and they're in kind of sensitive places, we always want to use first person language. And what that means is that we're going to put the person first and then their challenge or their disability second. So we have clients who have disabilities, not disabled people that we're working with. And what they're looking for is a solution to help them with that challenge, not somebody to feel sorry for them. So we're going to work from a place of empathy and ask our questions from a place of empathy, which really is a place of curiosity, not just concern or feeling sorry for people. And when we're asking our questions and our tone is empathetic, we're going to be practicing active listening. We're going to be taking a posture of working together to discover solutions that resolve their challenges or that help their challenges. So, as a designer, you're the leader in the project, but you need to fully understand your client's needs to lead them appropriately. So, you need to understand their feelings, try to understand their experience from their point of view so that you can get that project right for them in that personal way that they're really looking forward to. So, to be a generous leader, you're going to have to be a little tender with your tone in some spaces where these questions are really personal for them. So instead of saying those sympathetic phrases like, I know how you feel, I have the solution, try instead to say phrases that are kind of structured like this. Say, I hear the problem that you have. Did I understand it correctly? Does this offer a solution to that challenge or to that problem? So, for example, if you have a customer whose concern is maybe maintenance of their large shower that you've built for them, you can ask, would a shower head with an integrated hand shower or a separate hand shower allow you to clean the space more easily? If you have a client who has a problem or a perceived problem of maybe entry clearance or safety for their shower, you could ask a question like, would a curbless shower provide a solution to the access you're concerned about in the future? If you have a client who has arthritis or they've told you they're worried about struggling with that in the future because of maybe a family history, you can ask a question like, would a faucet with a single handle be easier to operate because of the arthritis in your hands? So again, here you're using that first person language. You have a person who has a challenge, not a disabled person. So as you're asking these questions, just understand that you might not be able to offer a full solution that meets their goals. And that might be because either they have a lot of needs, there's no perfect product, or just there are space or budget limitations, especially with a bathroom. So being empathetic will get you a long way, but it won't necessarily get you all the way. And there'll be a lot of moments where it just gets awkward for you because you are talking about a bathroom. So you're dealing with toilets and bidets and maybe multi-person showers. So you have a lot of opportunity to kind of stumble and get into that awkward space. So a couple of things that can help you diffuse those kind of tight or over personal moments can be to try using some light humor. Go ahead and just confess it, address the elephant in the room, say, well, that was a little awkward, and then try to move on. So moving on can sometimes look like sticking to the facts. Go ahead and call out product features or reference similar projects that other clients have undertaken. Spending some time in kind of a facts-based discussion can allow you to temporarily distance yourself a little bit from that overly personal moment or overly personal question. And it can still keep the conversation going around the overall topic that you need to get your answers to. Another thing that you can try for clients that are highly sensitive to talking about personal situations or just need a little bit more time to process some of those questions can be communicating with them digitally for some of those questions. It'll buy them a little bit of distance when they don't have to face communicate with you. And that can make it easier for them because they'll have a little bit more time to get their phrasing right, to choose their words more carefully, and they won't feel awkward discussing things with you. Sometimes you can find people be a little bit more honest in their digital communication about what their challenges and their fears might be around their bathroom space than they are face to face. In some cases, it will also give them a little bit more time to consult with other people about the project. If they have real specific needs, or if they have a family member who they're designing for or designing in mind but isn't able to make the meetings, using digital communication can help open that up for other team members that are working with family to help answer those questions and review some of the solutions. I know as designers, we're always a little afraid when we open that up that we're going to get the opinions of like their neighbor down the street who had a similar project, but it does allow us to provide them with some kind of additional review and additional time to think about and answer those questions. It can lower the barriers and just allow communication to be a little bit more free, even though I understand that screening some of those outside opinions does get difficult. I think it's an important thing to consider. And then one of the other things is to just give them some physical space as well. Even though digital communication allows you to do that to a certain degree, when they're in the showroom, there's nothing more powerful than kind of letting them test drive some of the features that you're looking at for your new bathroom. So especially in the case of like a freestanding bathtub, which in some cases can be a little difficult or awkward to get into or out of. You want to give them the space to really give that a try. Or think about a bidet seat. You want to give them an opportunity to sit on that, kind of feel it out a little bit. But it can be an awkward moment for them, especially if it's a toilet, it feels weird, we're in a weird place, so you can go ahead and try, these 2 or 3, these would be my recommendation. Take a couple steps back, go do something else, and then come back and check back with them, especially if they've come to your showroom to do this test drive with a partner. Then they can kind of have that discussion, and they might be able to have their own awkward moments without you being present. And then they'll be able to give you a little bit more honest feedback. So go ahead and give them some physical space. Sometimes that will help as well. So we've talked a lot about how to ask the questions, but what are some of the right questions that we need to ask? And what are some of the most critical questions that we do need to ask about these spaces? So let's look at some that are kind of just general and then some that are bathroom specific. So let's start with the big why. As designers and salespeople, we're always asking questions to our clients that should lead to the big why, regardless of what space we're working on. Why are we ultimately doing this project? Is it a need, like a situation that was brought on by an insurance claim, maybe a leaky toilet, maybe a roof leak that came down through the bathroom? Is it a disability that suddenly emerged that we deal with? Or is the big why maybe just that we want to add a new feature to the space? We want to expand the bathroom. We want to personalize it. This is a new house for us. We want to put our own stamp on this. Or we've seen something that's kind of trendy that we want to bring in. So in a bathroom, we do tend to see kind of 5 main goals for that big why. The first one is going to be luxury, especially as we look at how the bathroom becomes a luxury space for us right now. We want to make sure it's beautiful first thing for us in the morning, right before we go to bed, that it has the aesthetic that kind of covers the rest of our home. Wellness, we're asking our bathroom to be a place that promotes both physical and mental wellness for us. Hygiene, obviously, that is the main function of the bath. And in some cases, we're improving hygiene or access to hygiene for our clients and giving them the autonomy to be able to use those features independently by adding in things that make it easier to maintain or things that make it safer for them. So maintenance is also a major why that we're seeing in bathrooms. Is it easy to maintain? Is it easy to clean? And then definitely safety. For anybody on either side of the age spectrum, either young or old, safety can be a major consideration. So it's important to talk with your client and identify which of these goals might be their primary goal and then which might be a secondary goal. I know a lot of times they'll feel like I want all these goals, but there's normally one that kind of sticks out as the most important. And then clarify what that means. Again, thinking about how different words mean different things to different people. Phrases like luxury can definitely mean different things to different people. So you want to identify what that means. Safety, what does that mean to your client? Is that something where we're engineering all those safety features in now, or we're just kind of pre-planning for the future? So make sure that you're an active listener kind of as you're working through that big why, and that you're really listening to what their perception of those goals are. So normally in a bathroom, we're dealing with more than one user. It's very rare that we're going to have a bathroom specifically for a single person. So we need to think about everybody who will be using the space. And unlike other home spaces where it's totally fine to have 6 people in the kitchen at a time, it might not feel appropriate to have 6 people in the bathroom at the same time. So most of the time we're looking to use that bathroom independently and privately. And so we'll have to balance how often, kind of with what frequency it's being used, and then for how long, what duration it's being used. And these are questions that we're going to have to consider for each of the bathroom spaces and features that we're working with, how the users will use them. And the ability of the users as well can vary quite a bit. So we need to make sure that we've reviewed that with our clients. So I want to take a look with you at our main bathroom work zones and apply the how many, how often, how long questions to each of those areas, along with some space specific questions for what we're asking from that individual space. So kind of our main bathroom activity zones are going to be the vanity, the toilet, the shower or tub, storage features, and then maybe for some of our clients, some specialty features whether they have something like a steam room or a sauna or a laundry unit that they're looking to put in that bathroom. So, similar to a kitchen, like I said before, bathrooms have their own work zones. Kitchens might have food storage, food prep, cooking, cleanup. In a bathroom, we have these zones, which each have their unique function. And so we're going to have to ask our clients how they are looking to kind of use each of those zones and what those tasks look like for them personally. So, if you like checklists, this is a great place for you because we'll be kind of creating a list around each of these zones that addresses the user, the task, the features, and then the products. And we'll kind of breeze through this for each of these spaces here at the end of this presentation. And then we'll wrap up with a few additional resources, like I said. So you can get out a piece of paper, start a grid, a spreadsheet, kind of whatever your thing is. But this is my kind of base level one that I normally start with is kind of for each bathroom zone, each bathroom space. Who is my user? What is their ability level? What is their age? How often are they going to use it? How long? What is the task that we're asking? What's the feature or solution to allow that task to be done? And then what products do I need to make sure that we spec or address related to that work zone space? So let's deep dive kind of each of those related to this questionnaire. So kind of the first one is the vanity, which is kind of our personal care center. So that's where we're getting ready for the day. Sometimes with vanities, I would say always with vanities, we need to ask, is it going to be a single vanity or is it going to be a shared vanity? And especially if it's going to be a shared vanity where you have more than one sink or more than one person will be using that countertop lay down area, is it going to be used together or is it going to be used at different times a day? How do people's routines align for that personal care center? Sometimes we have bonus spaces where it's not being used often, or powder rooms where it's getting used really frequently because maybe it's right by that back door. So it's that hand washing, it's that cleanup station for everybody. So who is the user? How often and how much are they using that space? And then what tasks are we looking to accomplish there? And some of that, what we're asking for our vanity will be maybe a little different depending on if it's a full bath or if it's a half bath, but are we getting ready for our day there? Are we just washing our hands, brushing our teeth, doing makeup, doing hand washing? What features are we going to have to build into our vanity that allow us to complete those tasks? So having enough countertop lay down area, having enough storage for those personal care items or having the right shape and configuration of storage, having enough lighting, in some cases having seating. If it's somewhere where we're doing a daily makeup routine or we're just dealing with a client who has limited standing ability, mirrors, plumbing fixtures, these will all be features that kind of come into play. The products that we're going to have to make sure we touch on for our clients are going to be the countertop, the faucet, the sink, storage, and then any special features. We are seeing a lot of electrical outlets, charging stations, stuff like that built in to vanities. So just make sure that you kind of bring that up as part of your vanity discussion. Okay. Another area that we're going to have to talk about here again is our checklist. It's going to be kind of our bathroom is going to be our bath and showering space. So who is our user for this space? How often will they use it? Is it going to be daily? Is it going to be occasionally? How long? I have mostly daughters, so that is an important question for us as we seek to kind of balance out how long those showers and that personal care is going to be, what task, and then what features and solutions are we going to have to make sure that the tub or the shower has to fit those tasks, and then speccing our products. So the bath and the shower is generally considered a space for self-care, for bathing. Sometimes we'll tag it with relaxation as well, thinking of that health and wellness routine. Maybe having a bubble bath is just part of how you relax on a Friday night, you know. So think about with your bath and your shower, your users, if it's a shared space, if more than one person is using it, or if it needs to be shareable. Sometimes because of access with a bath or shower, you need to think about that space being shareable because people just need assistance using those spaces. So if it's young children, maybe you need to make sure there's enough clearance around that bath that they can use it. Or a shower, you need to make sure there's enough access to help an elderly parent, as a caregiver, so that you have enough space and access for that. You want to make sure that maybe you're asking questions about, is it completing just a hygiene task to get people clean, or is it part of their kind of wellness routine? Do you need it to be a soaking tub? Do you need it to have extra features and other things like that? And then related to those features, are you going to have to think about seating in the tub or the shower or near it, privacy, and ventilation? So the products that we're going to have to think about when we think about a shower specifically are, we're going to have to think about how we're building out that shower, kind of what makes up the walls, what makes up the floor, controlling the water flow and how much water is coming in and out. Privacy, are we using a curtain? Are we using a shower door that's glass, frosted, no door at all? In the case of maybe a wet room, does it contain other elements? Safety and maintenance, because there's so much water going on. We want to make sure that it's a space that's safe for all users and that's also relatively easy to clean. And then a shower is a place where we can definitely have specialty features, everything from specialty body jet sprays to introducing steam. These will all be products that might fix or might provide solutions to some of your clients' requests for that space. Products that we're going to have to ask questions about related to our bathtub, if we're going to be speccing a tub for the space, are going to be, what material is that tub going to be? Freestanding or alcove, fiberglass, a cast iron. There's a whole host of materials. How are we going to control the water flow with that? And how are we going to provide privacy for that? Especially with a freestanding tub, privacy will be a topic that I would bring up, or if it's a shared bathroom at all, kind of how will we ensure that you feel private if that's important to you while you're using that tub in that space. Safety, getting in and out of that tub is similar to getting in and out of the shower because there's a lot of water, can also be a concern. So we'll have to make sure we address those features. And then any specialty things, which will help be related to those kind of bonus features that our clients might be asking for. Maybe they're looking for a heater in that tub so they can relax in that for longer, aromatherapy or bubbles. Those are all available as kind of part of that health and wellness routine that they might be asking for. So just make sure that you touch on those things. And then we will talk back to our list about kind of the toilet space. So here, ability and age do come into play. How often and for how long? The task is relatively simple, but it definitely needs to be addressed when it comes to a toilet, because we'll be offering some features and solutions that make that toileting task easier. And then we'll talk a little bit about all the products that are available. So toilets are definitely a hygiene item. Safety comes into play with them, but also beauty. We have definitely taken the toilet from just a functional element of the bathroom to something that's become a design element. And so that may come into play for some of our users who really want to finish their beautiful space with a beautiful toilet. So really more than just a place for hygiene, the toilet, when we think about it, is also affects a lot of our clients' self-esteem or kind of self-independence. They think about their independence related to that. Using the toilet, something that they want to be able to do independently, and making sure that they're provided with features that allow them to do that can be very powerful for them. They want to be able to use that and all of its features independently, without assistance, and with privacy. So if you can offer them those solutions and those features, they will be kind of forever grateful. So when we're looking at a toilet, there is an amazing range of products that we need to ask our clients about and different kind of features that they're going to offer. Everything from height, comfort height, to short height, to shape, what fits well for them and their body usage, as well as for their space. If it's a small bathroom, is something like a wall hung toilet an option that we need to consider? Skirted toilets, if we have clients who are struggling with cleaning, or just a design element that's so much cleaner in look and easier to clean than the old-fashioned toilets with the revealed trap. And then also we're seeing toilets that have a lot of specialty luxury touches. And those, again, when it comes to that feeling of independence and autonomy that you can give your client when they're using this, can be very powerful. And related to toilets, you'll be asking your questions about products like bidets. And bidets can have a ton of features that can help solve problems for your client and address issues that they maybe didn't even realize they had, but can offer major lifestyle improvements. So think about heated seats. I live here in the Midwest, and in the winter, this would be a yes, please. Wash patterns for bidets. These can be really important if you have multiple users for that toilet because they can be gender specific and that can make a big impact on personal hygiene. Lights, think about the middle of the night, not having to turn on all the lights, but having a toilet that's a backlit seat or something like that. Personal dryers, we don't want to be just wet. We want to be dry from a hygiene perspective. And then control systems. Either these can be controlled with a remote, with a side panel, or manually. There's a lot of different ways that these will work, and they'll all be questions that you'll have to address with your client. So they will definitely make that little sheet. And then the last space that we'll talk about in the bathroom, kind of the last task space, is going to be storage. So who needs to access that storage and kind of what's their ability level? How often do we need to get into it? And then how long does it need to remain accessible? What are we asking it to do? What are we asking it to store? And then what do we need to consider based on the products that are available? So the storage is not only for toilet paper and towels, but also for personal care products and maybe for bonus features. Like we talked a little bit about having electrical in there before, but we're asking our storage to take care of everything from towels and TP to medicines. So it does have a lot of requests that we're asking for it. So make sure that you discuss with your users kind of their ultimate goals for that. So your storage products can include storage for towels and bulk items, just basic necessities for that bathroom or that shower room. Personal care products, and these can vary depending on the gender or even the ethnicity of the people that you're dealing with, what type of hair care products or hair care or personal routine they have and how much product they need to sustain that. Medical supplies. We have plenty of clients who have medical situations and either lots of medicine that they need to be able to access or sensitive medicines that they need to be able to lock up and keep away from smaller kids or other family members. We have a lot of bathrooms that we're engineering for laundry or other specialty features now as well, kind of dual function spaces that may also incorporate a TV, a coffee maker, or other kind of special features like that. So make sure that you bring those up front with your clients and just ask, are these part of what you need? Are these products that we're going to have to review as part of your storage solution? So, and then keep in mind that because you're the designer and you've been amazing at keeping on top of all of the trends and the most innovative products, that there's a lot of things that your clients don't know exist that might be really important for enhancing that bathroom space. So make sure that you make them aware of all the kind of new and personal products that are out there to be able to help them really create the space that they want. Don't be afraid to ask questions about products that might seem like they're outside their initial budget level because these can be really powerful or impactful products to clients who have specific needs. So everything from kind of like a drying system for a large shower, which can help with maintenance costs, to heated floors and towel bars that can be really fantastic in colder climates. Steam or sauna are powerful not only for people who deal with like fitness recovery, but also people who deal with physical ailments like arthritis or neuropathy. Cold plunge, we saw that come on the market from a couple vendors this year, including Kohler, and then digital controls too. Digital controls can really provide a streamlined solution if you have a client which has a lot of bathroom components to simplify the usage of that and remove the barrier that they might have of being afraid of having kind of all those controls going on the wall. A digital control can really streamline that for them. So make sure that you make them aware of those things and kind of add them to your list of just things to touch on when you're talking about that bathroom space and solutions that can improve some of their struggles or some of their goal points. So in closing, I want to thank you guys for being with me this afternoon, for joining me to expand your education and really focus on how you can wow your clients with their super personal bathroom spaces. For additional resources, you guys can check out the NKBA knowledge base. They do have a universal design badge, which has got a lot of great information. ADA.gov has a super powerful resource as well that can help you if you're dealing with a client which has disabilities or physical struggles. You can kind of go there and get some guidelines, which will help you even transfer them to a residential setting. The Living in Place Institute is excellent for that as well. They are expanding beyond just kind of limitations that we think of as people age and also get into kind of mental health and wellness features, both related to the features that we use as well as the colors and the textures. They're a fantastic resource for you as well. Just wanted to note as well that most of the photos from this presentation did come from Kohler. They just have a beautiful selection of product and all of their photos just look like art. So if you guys really need some inspiration for your clients, some high design features, that's a great place to go. And I would be happy to be accessible to you to talk through additional questions, concerns. My email is here as well as you guys can find me also on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have had in the Q&A that follows this up. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Annika, for such a wonderful presentation. I really appreciate the time. With that being said, we are going to go ahead and jump into our Q&A. So we have a few questions here. The first is, do you use any visual tools or methods to help clients articulate their vision?
I'll often ask for if they have an inspiration board. A lot of them have been online collecting pictures or images, and I don't necessarily ask them to call out um, exactly what they're looking for. I'm like, send me everything that's inspired you, and then we're going to sift through it together because a lot of times they don't recognize what they're looking at or what all those features or elements mean. So I like to kind of just take the whole inspiration dump that they might have, whether it's magazines or Pinterest boards, and then go through it together and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing that you guys have that across these is all a commonality. This is what that tub actually looks like in real life, or this is how that feature functions. Now that we have a little bit more knowledge about it, do you want to include it in what we're doing? So we just start from a place of taking their inspiration and then adding some education to it.
Fabulous. Thank you for that answer. Is our next question is, what are some key considerations when designing bathrooms for multi-generational households?
When we're designing for multi-generational households, I definitely like to make sure that we have a lot of safety features that are integrated. There's a lot of safety features that we can kind of hide in plain sight, or that look a lot better than they used to. We've got grab bars from almost every plumbing company now that match the rest of their collection, so they look more like wall accents than those commercial safety features that people are used to. We can also do like a low threshold or a curbless shower. That works for people of any age, really. Because a lot of things that work for young people also work for old people. A lot of the considerations are going to be similar. So once we remind people of that, we're not just designing for your mom to live with you, we're also designing features that are easier for your 5-year-old to use this space independently. Then I think everybody's on board because that's exciting for every, parent of young kids to help teach them autonomy, on their self-care routine so that they can kind of take charge of that as they learn and grow. And then also providing more self-reliance for the older generation as well as they start to age and things start to become a struggle. So it works on both sides.
It's fabulous. Thank you.
Hmm.
Um, and then our next question is, how do you navigate situations where functionality and aesthetics are in conflict, especially especially in maybe some smaller scale bathrooms?
Sure. I really like to utilize our local plumbing showroom when we have that. So often when we're trying to do a small bathroom, um, people still want that large scale, like freestanding tub. So I think once they get a look at it, and if we're like, well, I would love to have the one that you provided in your picture, but it doesn't fit in your space, so this is what fits in your space. Sometimes giving them that hands-on experience of those products versus what they're up against can help. Because then it's not just my fault. I'm not saying no. They've been able to make that decision after exploring it themselves. So kind of giving them the information, letting them explore it just a little bit further so that I've got some backup behind me when we have to tell them, well, I don't know if that'll fit, or maybe that's not the safest feature. We've definitely had a few situations where the client just kind of demands something that's either unsafe or feels like it doesn't fit the space, and then we just make sure we double up on collecting all those signatures and sign-offs. So, yep.
Perfect. Someone asked, kind of going back to designing a bathroom space for multiple purposes. Um, Olga asked, what are some unique solutions to combining a guest and kids bathroom? What are things to consider in this combination? Maybe are we leaning more towards the children because they're there every day, or
Mhm.
what insights could you provide there?
I think, one of the temptations that we, uh, struggle with when we're doing a kid's bathroom is we want to make it really fun. And I do want to make kids' bathrooms really fun and like a little bit more colorful. But I think that there's a lot of design elements that we can choose that keep it kind of casual or fun without necessarily being juvenile. And I think that's kind of the fine line that you toe is being able to make sure you have enough storage for those kid things that you want to tuck away, whether it's a potty seat or a kid step or all the bath toys, so that they don't have to be hanging out all the time, but that the space still feels inviting and, like I said, casual without being juvenile. I think that's a line that we toe sometimes.
Yeah, that's perfect insight. Thank you. And then our final question comes from Kimberly. She asks, what are the popular trends and new products that you're seeing right now? For example, heated floors, sauna, etc.
I think we're seeing a lot of those health and wellness features coming onto the market, where we're having more and more clients be aware that they're available and accessible at kind of a standard retail price point. So I'm definitely doing a lot more bathrooms that have steam rooms that are integrated into the shower or steam features, or separate saunas, whether they're a steam sauna. We've done several that are like radiant heat saunas. And that's always it's a little bit of a challenge as we're kind of continually learning those new products, making sure that they're not just a gimmicky thing that they're going to work for our clients and their needs. But it's just, so those are, I would say, the things that we're kind of seeing. They used to be luxury touches, but now clients are discovering that beyond that, they're really great just even for every day, whether you're an athlete, or it just helps you relax. They're great and they're kind of the new thing that we're seeing called out more often.
Fabulous. Well, thank you again for taking the time to present with us today. Before we end and let everyone go, I'd love to give you just a few moments to give us any final thoughts and words before we end today's presentation.
Sure. So I just think that, especially bathrooms are just really hot kind of for all of us right now. We might do a kitchen once in a lifetime for somebody, but most homes have more than one bathroom. So we'll have an opportunity to do that bathroom, more than one project in that home. So we used to not think a whole lot about bathrooms, or they were kind of a secondary space. We weren't excited about it. But now both designers and clients are being excited about it and kind of how that space can be personalized and how it can feed into their health and wellness and just daily routine. So it's an exciting space as we start to explore it, and just a challenge for all the designers out there to kind of really embrace it, think about how to make it personal to the client, and just make sure that we qualify them and ask just as many questions as deeply as we might for a kitchen or any other space that's a little bit bigger or more flashy. So, yeah.
Fabulous. Well, thank you again, Annika, for sharing your expertise and taking this time with us. And a huge thank you to our wonderful audience, as always. Until next time, I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Yes.